Greetings and salutations to everyone. So there is an ongoing discussion or dialogue, you might say, about education being feminized. Now, I don't know about the American system. I'm here in Jamaica, and I'm just going to give my 2 cents. In my opinion, education, and especially educational institution, was and will never be feminized because the foundation of educational institution began with white men. It has always been for them, right? And that's just, I mean, that's what it is. And so there's some things that are, fundamental, and things that are systematic, and they will never change because when it's made for a specific group to excel, it just doesn't make sense that they would now make it be for women to excel. Like, it just don't make any sense. And if you check the history, you understand. So first and foremost, education was for white men. It was for them. And I think that there's a lot of nuance to this conversation. And if we take the time to listen to everyone's opinion, then maybe we get a solution moving forward. There's always like a war, in terms of just not listening to each. So is who's going through it? You got to listen to what they're saying. So education began for white men, for them to excel. Now it is very important to note that black people in general, yes, I'm going to go there because it's important. It was never for us. It was never made for us. We were withheld. Um, and it's weird to me that something that was withheld from us, right? And they had to use several barriers. And now in today's world, you can educate yourself and know you're holding yourself back. They don't have to do certain things. They know what they have done is they have done something psychological to us. And so I think this is the bigger plot, is why is it that you won't educate yourself? Now, of course, education is expensive if we're talking about college and university. Yeah, most time you're going to put yourself in debt. But for some people, maybe you don't have to go that route. You could, um, because there's so many things online now that you can educate yourself on. There's, for example, in Jamaica, there's many courses like free. Well, not really free for you who is going to sign up, but maybe free, maybe you're going to be paid by taxpayers or companies or whatever. I am a testimony to that. I have signed up for several courses that I didn't have to pay for. Very good courses. Like recently, I did a course on cybersecurity and AI and stuff like that because I'm a creative person. I'm a poet and author, and basically, it's the big thing. And so they say it's going to take over, and so it's best to be in the know. And one of the things that I've learned is that when you're on the outside of something, you can only speculate. But when you're in it, you kind of get to know. And so most time these discussions are people who are outside, and nothing's wrong because you can look on you can be from the outside and observe, and you're right. But most times for you to break something, to break any system, you have to be in it. It's from the inside that things are broken, not from the outside. You have to go in it. And so um, I've been privileged to get an education from basic to university level. My mother made it possible because we grew up poor. Yes, the old age story. But yeah, that's the reality. And she made it important that it was something that I get. And I'm happy that I did. Um, in my further videos that I will do, upcoming videos, I will share what I did with all my education benefited me, basically. But yeah, so education was withheld from black people. we couldn't enter most of these schools. Even Jamaica here, because we were colonized by the British, colonized by like many people who came, but we are under the British system here in Jamaica. And if you check the history of a lot of the schools, a lot of black students couldn't enter, especially black men couldn't enter. And if they did enter these schools, they had to be 10 times, brilliant. And it's interesting when you see black people today, they can't just be great. We can't just be a great athlete. We have to be the greatest. In everything we do, we have to be above and beyond, because every step of the way, we had barriers for us not to enter. And so it is in our DNA today that everything that we do, we just have to be extra. Even if you're not someone who's trying to be extra, it's just that that, the reality is that you have to be beyond, because people are going to judge you, and that's just the reality. And so you notice that anything that black people go into, them want to be extraordinary in it. And I applaud us for that. So I would say don't make it much different in education. Be extraordinary. And then I've seen people be extraordinary in it. And it is to note that Frederick Douglass, for example, he could not read and write. And he started reading and writing at the age of 12. If you do your research on him, you'll get to know that he, went on to be a orator, a writer. And you see, when something is withheld from us, and then when we do get it, or we become extraordinary. And so the idea that education was feminized makes no sense, because it was never made for the woman, it was never made for the woman, and it wasn't made for black people in general, right? It was made for a specific group, the white male, right? That is to be noted. And when black people could enter, it would be black men who could enter. In Jamaica here, I went to a university, I don't want to call a university name, but we learned it that women did not enter that university, right? Many years after they got the opportunity to enter that university. It was always men going, which is not new information, everyone knows this. So when women started entering, of course, now in Jamaica, unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on how you view it, women are, outpacing boys or girls or men in our society when it comes to education. And there's a lot of nuance to that. Nothing has changed. The structure of the education system has not changed. So the question would be, what has made it feminized now? The system itself has not changed. It's a still same boring system. We have issues here in Jamaica as well. And it has nothing to do, people just like to lead to this gender war. But the truth of the matter is, there is a lot to it. My opinion is that the education system has to fit its people. And in my opinion, it has not fit us, because we are learning a British system and we are not learning about ourselves. If you ask most Jamaican, they can tell you the history of Britain and, the history of the world. And if you ask them about Jamaica or the continent of Africa, they might tell you certain things because they learned it from the Rastas, but they really don't know. The most that they know is, slavery, the usual slavery, and we learn about the Tianos here and, Kalinagos and stuff like that. But most people, they don't know much, and maybe the only tribe that they hear about is Ashanti tribe, you know what I mean? Because we have Maroons here. But if you ask them, they could not be able to tell you nothing more. Most people don't know their history. And if you don't know your history and you don't know your roots, then you don't know yourself as a person, because this is what makes your identity. And when these information are withheld, then you're lost. You have become something that you're not. But we do have the internet, we do have books, and yes, there is people who write books and they tell their version of stuff. But there are African writers, there are Caribbean writers, American writers who have given their version, and you can use critical thinking skills to figure out kind of what really happened. But that's my 2 cents basically, that it has never been femicized. I can't pronounce the word. Funny. But yeah, it has never been feminized, and it will never be feminized. The only reason why people are saying it's feminized, and it has been proven, is that anytime women take over, then all of a sudden it becomes useless and whatever. But women are under the same, system, and I believe that the nuance to this situation is that why women are doing well is not because they enjoy sitting down, listening. Nobody wants to sit down for hours and listen boring lectures and stuff like that. The thing is that women have been taught. We have had years of experience where you're taught to be sit and be quiet. And this is why this situation suits us. But really and truly, it doesn't really suit us. It's just that we have been trained in that way. And some women, they know. Let me speak for myself. I know my classmates believe that I love education. I do actually. I love learning actually. That is it. Or I love people think that I love school. That is it. I don't actually love school, believe it or not. And I did very well in school. People think that I love school, but I don't actually. It was my situation. My mom was always reading to me from the womb, and she always bought me books. As you can see, there's a bookshelf. There's a lot of books that I've read, and I'm a writer now, writer and author, and but yeah, when people were buying dolls, my mother was buying books. And then I enjoyed reading, and I remember when my cousins moved away, they went to foreign, basically America. They left lots of books, and I collected. So I have books from my cousins, and I was reading books above my reading level basically. And I love books like Nancy Drew and stuff, like even shows. I love watching Murder She Wrote, Matlock, Perry Mason. One of my favorite cartoon is Magic School Bus. So everything was always geared. Anything that I like, even though anything that I like is about learning, I get excited about learning new stuff, learning about new people, new cultures. I'm excited about that. You have to have a passion for that. You have to, and then now understanding that these things were withheld from my people, that even pushed me more, that I need to know more. There's a saying that we learn in Jamaica. If you want to hide something from a black man, and even though it's a black man, it's really both men and women, or mankind. It's really tight. But yeah, it's if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. Oh my gosh, from I was small, I've been hearing that like just ringing in my ears. And I understood it from then. Basically, it's saying that we don't read, and up to date it is known that we are not reading. Jamaica, for example, have a high illiteracy rate. Yeah, and we celebrate dunce culture. And if, especially for a man, if he goes the route of being smart, then he's gay. It makes no sense. And if you speak standard English as a man, once again you're considered. So smart is looked down on, or people trouble, oh, you're a nerd. That makes no sense. Think about it. Critical thinking skills here. Like, how can you being smart be something bad? But being dunce is something good? I mean, you go to the bank, for example, and you have to fill out a form, and you can't fill it out because you can't read and write, and you need assistance. And we generally see it also when they need assistance and they can't do it, immediately they turn to noise. We have an next saying, empty barrel makes the most noise. People who are having who can't read and write, they natural turn to making noise or giving trouble in class. Big up to those who actually want to, like, because I remember I went to Western Union, and there was this young man. I can see that he's a very humble guy. And I saw him looking around. I was wondering what. And then I looked at the paper and I figured he needed some assistance. And immediately he looked up on me, and I gave a look of friendly face, and then he was like, "Can you, like, what does this mean?" And and I was helping him fill it out, because it doesn't take, because I know some people do have disabilities. Not everyone is refusing to learn, but yeah, that's just a reality in my country where dance culture is celebrated. You're not out when you're smart, is especially for a man, and this is why this discussion um hurts me even more, because people are making excuses, and I'm saying, do people not realize that there's an attack on learning? Do people not realize that there's an attack on critical thinking skills? Do people not realize that there's an attack, I mean, on all class of people, but especially black people? When you know your history, that this was something that was withheld from you. I'm going to stress that part. It was withheld, and now you have access, and you're refusing access. Like, how does that make sense? Education will forever move you forward, It will. I'm telling you, when you know something, like, no one can take that away from you. You better, when you are educated, right? And I know people mix up education, knowledge, and all those things. They are all not the same. But I will encourage people to learn, right? Read books, read a variety of books, so don't limit yourself. So, for example, for me, I read a variety of books. I read from philosophy books, scientific books, history books, right? Like, there's no limit to books. Like, and I have a variety of books that I read from, because the more you read is the more you increase your vocabulary, right? And the more you gain confidence in speech. This is the encouragement. I get that everybody is having a discussion, and people are giving why and because of death and stuff like that. But I think that the true plot is, why would you not educate yourself? Why would you not gain skills, right? Why would you withhold yourself from something that was withheld from you and your generation by these systematic makes no sense to me. And that's my 2 cents, basically. Give thanks.